guys, welcome back to another video. We have more information coming out about the Xbox studio closures and the cuts, which isn't surprising. This always happens after the initial announcement. You get more information from employees who speak anonymously about things that are going on. And we have Bloomberg here and Jason Schreier reporting on Xbox and the fact that they are planning more cuts after their studios closures. And we know that they laid off the four studios. They closed the four studios and they laid off the people there, which is something that a lot of people are going to be looking for new work right now, going through the gaming industry. So hopefully they do end up on their feet. However, that does not seem like it is the end, according to this article. It says that Microsoft still isn't finished with their cost cutting initiatives across the Xbox division. And they say this week, Xbox began offering voluntary severance agreements to producers, quality assurance testers, and other staff at ZeniMax, which they obviously purchased in 2020 for $7.5 billion. And this is according to people familiar with the company's plans, and others across the Xbox organization have been told that more cuts are on the way. A spokesperson for Xbox declined to comment. However, we have information here about things that were said during a town hall meeting with ZeniMax staff on Wednesday morning, particularly Matt Booty, who has just been saying some really stupid things here. Seems like he's completely out of touch with the gaming industry, with games and everything. It's just kind of mind boggling, some of the stuff that he has said. But he says, first of all, he praises Hi Fi Rush and he did not specify why the company has shut down the development studio behind it. That's according to three people who were in attendance. So he didn't tell them an exact reason why they had to do this. And he says, speaking about the closures more broadly, Booty said that the company's studios have been spread too thin, like peanut butter on bread, and that leaders across the division had felt understaffed. They decided to close those studios to free up resources elsewhere. So if you're believing what he's saying here, Tango got closed, and the other three studios, Arcane, Austin, and Roundhouse and Alpha Dog Studios, they all got closed because the bigger studios needed more resources to be able to make and complete their games. And with the rising costs of creating these games, they have to free up money in a certain way. They have budgets that they have to adhere to, and this was probably the only way, at least the way he's making it sound, to adhere to those budgets without getting more funding from the other parts of Microsoft. They're $1 trillion company, and the biggest thing people are saying here is they're $1 trillion company. They absolutely could have afforded, if they truly wanted to, keeping those studios open. And then you have the other side of things is that businesses aren't going to do things that they don't think are going to be profitable. Even a $1 trillion company aren't going to just keep things open because they can. They are going to try to restructure in ways that they are profitable in the future. I don't agree with it. I think it's terrible. I think it's sad because Tango Gameworks to me was an amazing studio, and I was really hoping we would get a Hi-Fi Rush sequel, but that looks like it won't be the case. And it says here that Booty added that the shutdown of subsidiary Arcane Austin, the longtime developer of games such as Prey, was not connected to the performance of its new multiplayer game Redfall, a critical and commercial flop. So apparently Redfall had nothing to do with this. And here is where things get really interesting, and this has pissed off a lot of people, but a lot of people have also taken this out of context, and Jason Schreier actually had to go in and reframe the context, and he's not trying to protect Xbox. I mean, we know his track record when it comes to reporting on these companies. He's not trying to protect them, but he did have to reframe it because people were presenting it in a way that sounds worse than it is, even though this way is still bad. He says, before its closure, Arcane had been looking to return to its roots by pitching a new single-player immersive sim game, such as a new entry into the Dishonored series, according to people familiar. And Jill Braff, head of ZeniMax Studios, said in the town hall that she had hoped the reorganization will allow the division, which also develops Fallout and Doom, to put more focus on fewer projects. He says it's hard to support 9 studios all across the world with a lean, central team with an ever-growing plate of things to do. And as well, they say, I think we were about to topple over, she added. Now, both Tango and Arcane released games last year and were looking to hire additional staff as they pitched new projects, which Matt Booty and Braff suggested was the main factor behind the closure. Shinji Mikami, Tango's founder and studio head, departed last year. So it's being presented here based off of what this employee is saying, or these employees are saying who were at the town hall, that Tango and Arcane were pitching new games, sequels, essentially Hi-Fi Rush 2 and a new Dishonored game, and Xbox decided to cut those studios as they were pitching those games. And it has people saying, did they cut them because they didn't want them to make those games? And we have this on Twitter here. Jason Schreier kind of clarifies that. And this is a response to James Galizio, who works, I guess, for Games Radar and 10 Coins, an RPG site. And their tweet went viral. The tweet says the reason that Tango was axed was explicitly because they had released successful video games and were pitching a sequel that would have necessitated new hires. That's not speculation. That's literally what we're being told. You can't reform the leadership that thinks like this. He puts out this tweet, frames like that. That isn't the case. I mean, it is still bad, but that isn't the case. And people are running with that they essentially closed them because they wanted to make Hi-Fi Rush 2 and Dishonored. And Jason Schreier says here, the reason this sounds so absurd is because it's missing key context. What actually happened is that ZeniMax had to consolidate and chose to shutter studios that were pitching rather than studios with active projects. Still a devastating decision, but this tweet is inaccurate. So they were looking at everything going on and they thought these games that we're already working on are in development, and we're not going to cut those because we probably already have millions and millions of dollars of sunk costs into them. And they're games that are more likely they're not going to be successful. If you're thinking about a new Doom, that game is most likely going to be successful. If you're thinking about the other IPs, the big IPs at Bethesda, another Elder Scrolls, like those games, more likely than not, are going to be successful. The risk on those are far less than the risk on a Hi-Fi Rush 2, which hasn't even started development, or a Dishonored 3, which hadn't even started development either. No costs were really put into those games. So that's why they came to the decision to close those studios, and then reorganize ZeniMax and stuff. So that's what is kind of happening here. That's what it seems like information from the town hall has described. And I mean, it doesn't really make it better. It is what it is. It's really the only way to talk about it. But I mean, Matt Booty, out of everybody here, he seems pretty incompetent, at least with the things he is saying. Unless he has trouble figuring out the right things to say, he's not good at public speaking. Like, I'm not really sure what is going on here, but he is saying some of the stupidest things at the worst times. As we have this information here, this is from The Verge saying, Microsoft says it needs games like Hi-Fi Rush the day after killing its studio. Now, he doesn't say Hi-Fi Rush specifically, but what he says, or what we know he says here, is we need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. That Booty told employees, according to internal remarks shared with The Verge. Just insane. And it says, from some listeners on the call, it was a surprising goal. Microsoft had just shut down the Japanese Tango Gameworks, which was coming off the small prestigious hit like Hi-Fi Rush. So I'm not exactly sure if that was just a loss of words, or he's really just that dumb to say that, because that's kind of what it sounds like. You literally just closed a studio that gave a smaller game that was prestigious and won Xbox awards, but you're saying you need games like that. So this is where the whole communication and messaging, everything that occurs at Xbox, is extremely confusing for a lot of people. I have this feeling that Xbox and Microsoft are just such a big organization. There is just a lack of connection between all of the moving parts and functions and departments within there. You can even see that with the overall marketing side of things when they put out Feel the Burn controller the same day that they had all of these layoffs at Xbox. You would think if everybody was connected, communication was going well with an Xbox, that's probably something that wouldn't have happened. It's just some craziness there. But yeah, I don't think that is something that makes any sense here, if that's truly what he means. It's truly what they are looking for, because you had a huge hit in Hi-Fi Rush and you decided to close that studio and not work on a Hi-Fi Rush 2. So lots of just information coming out, and I think there probably will be more. There'll be more outlets getting people to talk to them and then reporting out, and we will definitely keep covering the story as it does develop. But I will end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.